Hello to everybody joining the event so far. We're going to be getting started in a couple of minutes and wait for some more folks to join. And as people come in, definitely curious to hear where everybody's coming from. Send your locations in the chat. I'm in San Francisco, as to be expected.
That'd be sweet. I'm joining from just outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, same here. Josh and I live like three kilometers, as we say here in Canada, from each other.
A 3K.
Yeah, just a little 3K fun run.
Sure.
I don't know if that'd be considered fun, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, if it's a run, it's not fun. But you guys could host like an annual Josh to Alley 3K.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we got some, oh yeah, Taylor's in Brooklyn. Got Ohio. Nice. Love the Midwest representation. Anybody have any places that they're trying to get to while travel is somewhat open? I think Brooklyn sounds nice personally, but it's just a continent away. So I think that, and Taylor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we are ready to get going. Okay, amazing. So thanks so much to everybody who has joined so far. Today we're going to be discussing prospecting the next generation. And before we do that, a couple of things I want to run through, including that today's event is hosted by the team at Modern Sales Pros. So for those of you who are not familiar, MSP, Modern Sales Pros, is an amazing organization, the world's largest organization actually for revenue leadership, people working in sales and sales operations in tech. And the mission is to create an environment where folks can ask questions and get answers from some of the best in the business, represented here on our slide of very impressive and numerous logos that you probably recognize. So lots of great resources in MSP, including live sessions like what you're about to experience today, and hopefully in the somewhat near future, in-person events. And if you're not a member of MSP already, you'll be invited to join after the event, and we hope that you do. We also hope that you join our Revenue Excellence Summit that's taking place from October 12th to the 14th. You will see the link to register for that event in the chat. There's events going on from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific every day for those 3 days. And topic that will be covered is annual planning, which I'm sure is on everybody's mind as we somehow approach the end of this year. So feel free to join that, but enough about MSP, because today's session would not be possible without sponsorship from the team at Vidyard. I'm going to hand it off to one of our panelists, Josh at Vidyard, to say a few words about it.
Hey, welcome to today's session, everybody. So quick synopsis on Vidyard. Vidyard is a video creation tool. So it allows users to actually generate their own content, sending off through prospecting emails, sales deals, even throughout customer success, but it's really just a very easy to use medium to help communicate and track with your customer base as well.
Thank you, Josh. So let's talk about our speakers in a little bit more depth. So as we know, we're going to be covering adding video into your prospecting cadences. And we have some amazing experts here to talk through that. First, before we get to Josh and Alley, I'll introduce myself. My name is Bridget Seacard. I was CSM at Atrium, and now will be leading the team for the customer experience team here at Atrium, which is a data-driven sales management tool. And before we get started on the topic here, I would love to have Josh and Alley introduce themselves and talk us a little bit how they got involved into video prospecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we jump in, Bridget, congratulations on the promotion. That's awesome. But My name's Josh Kirkham. I lead our sales team over here at Vidyard. I started Vidyard almost 3 years ago now. Actually, next month, today will be 3 years. I started as a business development rep at Vidyard, learning how to cold call, send videos, things like that. Worked my way up through the ranks, started as an outbound account executive with our emerging markets team. So focusing on companies 200 employees and less. From there, transitioned to full cycle rep, inbound, outbound, senior account executive, team lead, and now overseeing 9 members of our sales team over here at Vidyard.
Cool. And I'm Alley Newman. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm a senior account executive on the emerging team, under Josh, my wonderful manager here. I first started using Vidyard and video in my prospecting, where I used to be a hybrid account executive at an outsourced BDR, SDR organization called the Sales Developers at the time. We were a referral partner at Vidyard. It was a really small world because the Sales Developers was located in California. I was in Toronto, Ontario, and Vidyard's HQ is located in my hometown, Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. So I first started using video. Actually, it elevated my cold calling dial blocks, which I'm excited to dive deeper into as well, how you compare the two. And Vidyard brought me so much success in other roles and getting other jobs that when the opportunity presented itself that I had to jump on it. So I started here in June 2020 as an account executive, became a senior account executive, I want to say in May 21. And here we are talking about video for sales.
Amazing. Thank you both. I'm super excited to hear more about how you'd recommend using video. And before we get into that, just a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, the event is being recorded, and that means that you'll be able to access the recording and share it far and wide after the event on the MSP website. And second, questions are certainly encouraged during the event, so please use the Q&A panel function to pass those along. We'll do our best to get to them as we go through the topics here, but also there will be time after this to ask questions as well. So today we're going to just get started here, and I will pass it back off to Josh and Alley.
Awesome. Welcome to today's session, where we'll talk about everything from how to use video, where to use it, what should you say in a video, length, everything you need to know. As Bridget mentioned, if you do have any questions throughout today's sessions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We want to make this as interactive as we can. We've all been through college, university sessions where somebody's lecturing for an hour. Most people fall asleep. At least that's what I did throughout university too. So if that is the case, we don't want that to be there. So toss them in the chat, but let's kick things off here. Well, it's just a quick agenda for today's session. Just looking at why you should use video throughout your sales cycle. So not just using it through prospecting, not just using it through follow-ups and proposals or handoff to customer success. How can we actually weave it throughout that entire process to make a very seamless experience as we're looking to communicate with our clients? Where to use video in your cadences or sequences depending on the technology you're using, and even providing some real-life examples from members on our team like Ali and even some others. Just general video tips. How long should they be? What should our lighting look like? How can we make sure this is a little bit more fun? Because video can be a little bit intimidating as we're looking to start. And lastly, we'll go through some Q&A here at the end, because we want to hear what everyone's saying on the other end of the line and make sure that we're being interactive throughout this presentation as well. Awesome. So why should we use video throughout our sales cycles? Now, there's a lot of reasons why you can actually look at this. The biggest thing that I like to say is that video is a medium to communicate. And one of the members who actually, as he was interviewing for our team here at Vidyard, James, so a little shout out to James Balcarris on our team, came in and just absolutely blew my mind actually only a couple months ago, talking about how the medium is the message. So it really doesn't matter how we're looking to communicate that, whether that's through cold calling, email, social, whatever that is. The only thing that matters is how the person on the end is looking to perceive that message. So the coolest thing about using video is it's a very easy way for somebody to opt into taking in your message. And especially if you have a bit more of a complex idea, it's a very easy way to help simplify that information and actually show somebody exactly what your product does. But do you want to just jump to the next slide here for us as well? So some of the really easy ways, and reason number one here that we want to start using video, even just initially throughout our cadencing, is that we've actually seen teams book anywhere from 2 to 4 times more meetings using video. And now that might seem like a huge step. Wow, if I could double my meetings rate, wouldn't that be awesome? But it's actually amazing how often we do see teams using this, whether that's by, like Terrence is actually doing here, using something like a whiteboard and a marker to actually reach out. And I've always been a big fan of this from more of an inbound perspective. How would it put a face to the name, maybe setting an agenda before a call or as a quick little meeting reminder? Some of my favorite ways to use this from an initial outreach perspective is actually using things like somebody's LinkedIn profile or a company website. It's a very easy way to help personalize that message and make it more so about them, especially in today's age where we do live in a very much a buyer's world. We want to make sure that we're showcasing how we're personalizing it to them and showing them a nice little experience here too. And not only just setting that initial meeting, but making sure as new customers and prospects are actually attending those meetings, that they're a little bit more educated on the exact offering that your solution has. And this is why it's really impactful that we can actually walk through aspects of the platform or showcasing little case studies, microdemos, areas on their platforms that we can actually help. So it's not just catching somebody on the phone and hoping they show up. They actually know a little bit more about what we're doing. And lastly, obviously, finding ways to decrease no-show rates as mentioned, sending email reminders before calls, things like that. But Allie, do you have any quick little examples from your life going through your day-to-day from an initial outreach perspective you want to add in from an anecdote perspective?
Yeah, so like looping back to how I in my intro earlier in terms of cold calling. So for me, previously, I didn't do cadences. I just did call block styling all day, every day. What a life. But what I started to do was I wrote down the folks who are worth following up with, but also after the successful conversations as well. Because more often than not, you catch people at a bad time, no matter how good you are on the phone. So even just recording a quick video in the selfie style, I'm just like, thanks for your time, Josh, or thanks for your time, Bridget. Like, hey, I know I caught you at a bad time. Allie here from Vidyard. Here's why I called. So that's an excellent way to at least to get started. Some folks are like, oh my gosh, I don't have a video strategy. I don't know what to do. It really doesn't have to be this huge thing. It's just an added layer. It's just a tool. You already know what to say. You know how to say it. And it's just like leaving a voicemail. In this case, you're just being recorded. But using it after your cold call follow-ups is an excellent way just to get started. As Josh mentioned, going on someone's LinkedIn or website, going on a website is great if you're doing like an ABM kind of strategy where there's multiple folks from the same account that you're reaching out to. Like it's on their website. But I really would say like video just shows one that you put in an effort, like provoking that feeling. It's like when you're shopping and you're in that impulse line, right? Just like that feeling, and you want to like buy it right away. Obviously, it's easier to buy something that's like $2 in that impulse line, but it provokes that emotion, and that's what gets people in the door. People just decide to buy later, like logistics and reasons, but having that emotion there will get folks interested in you in the first place. So that's like the really big, I don't know, like sticking point there as well. And at the end of the day, too, you are making someone like happier. We did a study here at Vidyard with a company called B2B Decision Labs. Can't remember the exact amount of folks that were involved, but they did text-based emails versus emails with like video in there. Text-based emails like actually like make people sad and affect them negatively, especially like leaders who are reaching out to, seeing a full inbox. And then having a video in there neutralizes that negative state. So folks are more amenable to either click play or take that next step with you, and you're more memorable. I think it was like 60% of the folks involved in this study remembered 40% more of the emails with video versus no email. So people will come back to your video on their own time if they're not ready to click play because you're more memorable. Listen to what you have to say and take that next step. It gives the prospect a little bit of control rather than just like cold calling them out of the blue. Of course, you have wonderful prospects who do let you talk, but it's a great way for them to have a little bit of control as well.
And I actually saw a really nice question come through from Jeffrey throughout the chat here as well. So Alan, maybe I'll send this over to you and then I'll give my 2 cents after. But when it's a cold email, what tips do you have for getting the prospect to click and watch the video itself? So even just hear out the message in general.
Yeah, and that's a really great question because video alone isn't just going to do the trick, right? You have to be relevant. You have to have like that product fit or done some sort of research. You have to make folks click play. What we've seen in terms of subject lines, having video in the title does increase the open part. Something that works really well for myself is I made a video just for you and their name, like a video just for you, Josh, just is capitalized. For me, I have a 60% open rate with that. And then just having how long the video is, but not how long it is, how short it is. I made you this 45-second video for you. If you just write short video, that could mean 2 minutes or 5 minutes, which is still much too long for cold. 30 to 45 seconds is the sweet spot. And even mentioning whatever sort of call to action you want them to take next in your text as well. For me, I have the ability to have call to actions in my videos, just saying video ends with my calendar link, would love to connect, discuss video for sales with you. So my biggest ones are having video in the subject line, have how short the video is, and have something that's relevant as well to them. Don't just say, here's how we help. We've helped this company or this company achieve XYZ. You need something a little bit more relevant to who you're reaching out to. Like, I noticed your team. For me, I'm reaching out to folks who have videos embedded on their website. I noticed you have 10 videos embedded on your website, and here's how I think we can help you. Just like something small that you can do that makes it more relevant to them. Those are my biggest ones.
I love that. I know some of the biggest things that I even coach new members on our team with, just sending a video isn't enough. Like saying, hey, like I took all this time just to make you a video. Cool. Like, what is the reason behind this? Which is why some of the biggest points that I always love to do as an account executive when I was prospecting, but even through our newer teammates as we're teaching them from scratch how to use video, is finding that way to personalize it. Now, whether that is using something like a whiteboard and a marker, which every Vidyard member has to have handy as part of the obligation of working here, I guess. But some of my favorite ways of doing that is more so using things like a LinkedIn profile or company website. What's a more personalized way of reaching out to Alley than showing Alley her face? You know, some people might say, maybe that feels a little creepy. Maybe that feels a little something like this. We're living in a world of personalization. We're looking to find a way to grab somebody's attention that gets reached out to by 10 to 30 to 40 people a day. We need that initial reason to stand out and show them we actually took the time to make this specifically for them. So they'll even take that time to hear out our message there. So hopefully, Jeffrey, that answers some of your questions there. And keep the questions coming. I love seeing that too.
Someone pointed out to me, video is not just personalized, it's customized, because like personalized, like not someone's having name and company in there, that's personalized to an extent. But it helps with customization. Someone told me that last week. They don't even work at Vidyard. It's like, I'm gonna use that.
That's a good point. I like that. Like that. Let's jump to reason number 2 here. So reason number 2 of using video through your sales cycle as well. And this is actually probably my favorite way of using this, especially as I transition personally from a business development rep to an account executive, so a closing role, is finding that way to help make your champion's life easier to sell this to you. So I know, and this is a big thing at Vidyard, but I know a lot of organizations work like this as well, where you don't always have the luxury of speaking with the economic buyer, the decision maker throughout your sales cycle. So a lot of times we are dealing with a game of broken telephone through a champion. And that champion not only has their very busy job to do and their own family life they're trying to balance, but also trying to see how they can communicate the value of your product internally. So I think my absolute favorite way of using Vidyard, and I think this is probably the most underutilized way of using Vidyard, is helping to make your champion's life easier to sell this internally. So using it from a follow-up perspective. And I'll actually let Alley touch on this a lot more, because I think this is Alley's secret weapon as a sales rep. She is phenomenal about gathering resources from somebody after a call, making Canva presentations and things like that, and making a quick video walking through that. So that way, when she gives that to her champion, gives that to Bridget on her team, who needs to take that to Taylor, Bridget doesn't have to remember every little thing about Vidyard. She only just remember the 1 or 2 things she really likes. And Alley can help do all that heavy lifting, showcasing the value and all the different features and aspects of how Vidyard can help. So Alley, I'll toss it over to you, because I think this is your bread and butter on the team here.
Yeah, it's my favorite. And reason being, when I first started, obviously I couldn't give everyone all the information they needed on the call, right? I'm learning Vidyard can do so much. So my mindset was like, how can I make sure I give them all the information that they need? Because I know I couldn't do it all like on our initial demo. And then as I start to get more comfortable in my role, I wanted to, one, make my champion's life easier, but essentially what video allows you to do is sell to that economic buyer without even being there. And again, taking that workload off of your champion. And I love as well being in competitive situations. If you can pull that out in your discovery, because Josh mentioned I use Canva. I like to make simple comparison charts of what I know. I always encourage people to speak to whoever they need to speak to. Here are questions you should definitely ask them. But I make little charts, record videos about them, because one, again, our champions are super busy. They're thinking about a million things. I don't trust them. It's not a bad thing to remember everything that I said, but also to relay that to everyone else who's involved with this decision. But I also don't trust what a competitor has said either to that point. So it's really helpful if you're in a competitive situation, and if you can do it in a tasteful way, for lack of a better term. And again, it's just the goal is to take all the workload off of your champion's plate, and it definitely helps with your deal acceleration. And a lot of the times you won't even need to meet with the actual true decision maker. And then it also comes down to a case too, when you're building out like business cases just for the budget approval, like at the end of the day. And that way as well, you can create that business case with your champion, record it like a 90-second video that you can send to that CFO who only really cares about the numbers, doesn't really care about what Vidyard does and stuff. They just care about the numbers. So yeah, use playlists if you can. I think it depends on what sort of access you have to Vidyard, but I like to keep my playlist relevant. So a pricing video, any sort of micro demo, like let's say they're interested with the Salesforce integration, a Salesforce and Vidyard, that competitive piece, and then maybe like some customer stories or something that I know why someone would not want to move forward with Vidyard or any solution. I always like to ask that on my calls, like, why wouldn't your team move forward with something like this? And that could be anything. It could be price, adoption. Those are the main two really ones, but or timing. So I liked my last video, I like to address that risk, and they're all pretty short as well. And your videos can be a little bit longer in this stage, because obviously they're taking this decision seriously. If they're not watching your videos, then they're probably not interested anyhow. And if you have data on the back end to see that, you'll know. But yeah, that's my favorite way to use it. And it really helped me essentially. I ramp a bit faster after my first 3 months here at Vidyard, once I figured it out.
Yeah, and I know we have a question here from Derek, so I'll touch on that in a second here, but just building off what Ali mentioned, just kind of those key stats on the slide here. We've seen teams like even Zoom Info actually found they were able to accelerate their deal velocity by 30%, just using Vidyard to help stop that game of broken telephone. To even one of my clients, Proposify, who actually sells proposal software, so very similar space to DocuSign. They ran a report finding that teams who use video to walk through their contracts proposals, so explaining what the line items are throughout that sales cycle to that economic buyer and decision maker, helped increase their close rates by 40%, which is an absolutely wild statistic. So just using it to help stop the game of broken telephone, to communicate the value of your product to other members of the organization who, like Ali mentioned, might not care what your product is. They just care that if they spend $1, they get 4 back, or they save X amount of money, whatever that is, or time. Makes it very easy to actually showcase a benefit of what you have. But Derek, I saw your question coming through here as well, of any thoughts around getting through firewalls when using video and cold outbound outreach, which is a fantastic point. And one of the biggest things that we've seen this, I don't think this is a Vidyard specific thing, I would say anybody in the space understands this, is that we're never actually embedding the video in the emails itself. So it's not a video file coming through, because we know that that would instantly get caught by spam filters and firewalls. It is just a picture and a hyperlink. So it actually doesn't detract from deliverability at all. And I mean, we've helped teams like even some of the biggest teams in the world, like the Microsofts and Salesforces of the world, use Vidyard. And if even we were able to get through to these organizations using our tool, guarantee it actually works going through that way as well. But that's one of the biggest reasons why we use just a picture, a GIF or GIF, however you like to say it, which side of the fence you live on, and a hyperlink down below as well. So hopefully that answers your question there, Derek.
It's just like an email signature.
Yeah. Awesome. And reason number 3, please, Taylor. So reason number 3 is increasing adoptions to sold accounts. So this is right up the alley here of Bridget, now that she's overseeing this beautiful customer success team. But one of the biggest things, that we know, even from a sales perspective, is that retention is the name of the game. It's one thing to sell an initial account, but the name of the game in any SaaS software is to retain that client for 3 to 10 years, whatever your CAC ratio is. But from there, how do we actually grow that account as well? New logos are awesome, but new logos are very expensive. we need to figure out how we can actually keep mining our existing customer base. And the only way we're able to actually do that is to help increase adoption. So some of the biggest ways that we always like using video is to, one, help with handoffs. Now that you just worked with Alley for the last 21 days to 3 months, however long your sales cycles are, and you just built this huge relationship with Alley, how do we make sure that when we actually pass it off to someone on Bridget's team, that that relationship keeps going? So some of the biggest ways that we love using this is actually helping with that handoff process, introducing the new customer success manager you're getting to work with to help build that relationship and maybe set up an initial kickoff call or something from that standpoint. Even from that actual customer success manager's end, when they're actually using video, to help people understand how to log in. Any of those little how-to questions are looking to get things up and running, follow-ups after training calls, to even helping with more technical walkthroughs. Or maybe they don't always have time in the day to actually get on calls with individuals. How can we help actually give information over and see if a quick little 3-minute how-to video on how to change your password actually solves the problem that they need before we have to escalate things and get on calls. So it's a fantastic way to not only help save us time from a customer success standpoint, but furthermore, help decrease that time to value for that customer on the other end of things. Ali, do you have anything else you want to add on that side?
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit before success, but video is great, especially if you're selling a solution or a service where maybe adoption comes up a lot, right? Vidyard, we're software, we have to use us in order for you to see value. So you can even create videos and show them already how your team can use this or how they can implement it in their cadences. Because once you can start thinking, get your champion to start thinking about how they want to use it, they're a little bit more bought in and tied to the idea of including this new solution or service within their process. Because to Josh's point, in terms of retention and so forth, like usually leaders don't buy a software, they buy the adoption and the use of it. So you can even use it before it even closes to help with that retention and success, and just a little bit more forward thinking there. So that's where I love to use it as well. And hopefully the success team appreciates it too.
Yeah, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
So I was writing that down. Thank you guys for the tips. So I'm wondering how you feel it like enhances your own selling motions. Like I'm sure that you worked in other roles before this where you weren't using video as much. How do you feel like it's made your life better as a seller? Not just like in your results, because you know your close rates have increased and your sales cycles have decreased, but in your day-to-day, why do you enjoy using video?
I'll let you go first, Al, if you want. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think if I can be, and I got this from our old manager here, if at the end of the day, if I can just give someone a good experience and be a pleasure to deal with and work with, I think video really allows me to do that. I get a little salty when folks ghost me because I've been nothing but a treat this whole time. It's on a meeting or with video, but I think that's for me why I really like to use it. And like sales, no matter what you're doing, it's a grind, and I just think it makes it much more fun. And when like my prospects or customers send me a video back, it's like the best thing ever. I've had a couple people too send me a video saying, hey, before a demo, this is what I want to learn about. These are my goals for the next year, for the next 2 years. Can we focus on that? And that like gets me super excited. And if it closes, awesome. If not, that's fine as well. But it's just way more fun, and I can give people a better experience if I were to put in two points.
I know my side's probably a lot different than Ally's, just to playing the other side of the fence here. I was actually somebody who really struggled getting behind camera. I hate being on camera. And it's really funny that I work for a video company. Now we're on Zoom for 8 hours a day, it feels like. But I truly hate being behind camera. I've been with my partner for over 3 years. We might have 3 pictures together. That's how much I hate it. But probably the reason I like using video the best is I'm a really bad speller. My grammar is horrible. My spelling's atrocious. And video is a really easy way for me to actually communicate the value of what I'm trying to say, instead of having to proofread my grammar for 30 minutes, making sure I'm actually speaking English through what I'm trying to say, and do it with a smile on your face too. because again, people like buying from people. You can't tell who the human is in the other end of that text-based email. And that's one of the beautiful things about using Vidyard. If you are sending something going through competitive analysis, it takes the emotion out when it's just an email. But being able to actually add a little bit of your flavor into things and add that personality in is a really good way to not only build a relationship with your consumers, but again, you don't have to proofread everything you're saying there because you just get to say it, which makes it very easy. So that's probably some of the ways that I like it. But does that answer your question there, Bridget?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I have used video of like a couple times a week, I would say, when I'm communicating with customers. Basically when I'm like, I don't want to type this out. And so, and I haven't had any negative feedback, but and I've had some people be like, oh my God, thank you for that video. It's super helpful. But I agree with you that like, and sometimes it's just so much easier to verbalize something than it is to like write it out. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And I think the one of the most interesting things that I always like to think about from a pre-sales perspective versus a post-sales perspective. In pre-sales, it's always really important. Like I love sending a video because you can tell when somebody watched it to help follow up with them, to maybe get them on the phone, help increase your connect rate from that end, turn cold calls, warm calls, things like that. But from a post-sales or account retention perspective, it's the exact opposite, where if somebody's not watching your videos, that's when the red flag should really be going up. Because if you have somebody like Taylor who just signed on, and we know that North Star for retention happens at day 16 after they set up these specific things. If we can't get in contact with Taylor and Taylor's not watching any of the resources we're sending over, that's a really good indicator from a success perspective that we need to really prioritize Taylor, because if we don't get her to this point at the call, there's a really good chance we're actually not going to retain her, or she's not going to see the value as soon as she needs. So I find that's a really cool thing with using video through those processes too. And I saw Eric from Textio just sent a nice little question over here too. Are there any data points that Vidyard can speak to implementing for emails versus LinkedIn in mails, if that's a thing? Ali, you might have the stats better than I do, because I know you're the stats wizard on the team.
I don't know about LinkedIn InMail. So the thing about LinkedIn is that you have to be connected with someone for that GIF to populate. If you're not, they'll only see a link. So that's why I just use direct message. I don't know the stats in between the two, but they both work really well, that I encourage that you use both. Something that's a little bit cheeky that I started doing, I'll connect with someone on LinkedIn. I'll just be like, hey, I'm sending you a video later today. And that's it. And it's helped with that LinkedIn acceptance. And then we'll send that video via email. If they watch the video, again, if you get that notification in real time, you should pick up the phone. Hey, I was that crazy person waving at you in your email inbox. Curious to know what your thoughts were on the video. Most people laugh. Some people tell you to buzz off. But then again, there's no one size fits all channel for everyone. So again, at like day 4 or 5, we'll take that same first video, send it to them on LinkedIn because they've accepted my request, and just send them, and they'll see the title of it and just say, in case LinkedIn was a better channel for you, wanted to send this video here. So you're really coming at them from all angles. Typically, I will say probably email, we've seen the most success rates in terms of booked meetings and responses, but by no means should you steer away from LinkedIn and not use it, but just you have to be connected for them to see the GIF.
Yeah, I think the whole value proposition of using a video is the same, whether it is through LinkedIn or email. Mm-hmm. As Ali mentioned, I think the biggest thing with using it through LinkedIn is just that ability to be connected with them first. But either way, I mean, just from a text-based versus video perspective, we've seen teams say that their response rates increased by 26% on the low end of things, just by adding that video in there. So I think no matter what medium you're using to try to connect with that person, whether that is through a social network or through email, it is just that added layer of personalization through there. But that's a great question. Yeah. Let's dive into the next part here. Where to use video in our cadences. I think this is a really cool thing, because I've heard this a lot, not only from training new members in our team as we're starting to go through prospecting, because we believe that everyone on the team should be a hunter, not just get fed by inbound. That's our physical philosophy on our side. But even then, talking to customers is something that comes up a lot. And I might just pick on Ali again, because I know she is our cadence wizard at Vidyard. But my personal perspective is I like to use personalized videos, ones that you would actually create for somebody earlier on in our cadences. So using it as that way to show, hey, Taylor, I'm going to keep picking on you because you're the top of my contact screen here. This is exactly why I'm reaching out to you. And then your follow-up steps through your cadences or sequences can all relay back to somebody actually watching that video. Just because you can actually tell when somebody's actually watched the video. You can't always tell when somebody's listening to your LinkedIn or your voicemail or things like that. And you can actually tell that exact amount that somebody like Taylor had actually watched. And then as we get later in our cadences, I've always been a really big fan of using more generic content. So maybe those are resources that marketing's provided, like on-demand webinars that they've been a part of, case studies, micro demos, testimonials from customers. But I like to use actual created videos, like ones that our sales team would actually make, probably in the first step and about halfway through, repurpose it. And other than that, it's more generic content. But Ali, I know you have a bit of a different strategy than I had in terms of using video in your cadence.
Yeah, and this is a good segue because I kind of just mentioned like the first bit, LinkedIn. I'm sending you a video. We'll send like a relevant video, a customized email as step one. Send them that same video as step like 3 or 4. On LinkedIn, as Josh mentioned, I like to create my own repurposed content. I love to use Canva. So I like to make a 45-second video on how video impacts the sales cycle. If I'm reaching out to, if it's sales persona, or how it impacts like marketing top of funnel, if it's a marketing persona. And if you use any like cadence tools where you can change the dynamic tag. So underneath your video, there'll be a link. And within that link, you can change it. So it says first name, another video for you. It's not really personalized, but it looks like it is because they're hopefully used to your face by this point. And it says, and it's the videos for them underneath of it. If you can use video, like whether it's personal, like definitely personalize like your first couple of steps. And throw in some cold calling as well, and cold call when you see that video engagement, because timing is also part of outbound as well. Target message channel timing, and timing super tough to control. So when you know they watched the video, you know they're available at the very least here. But yeah, then I start to use like generic content that could be used for them. And then you can also create nurturing cadences as well. They've gone through like, one where you hit them hard. And then every 45 days or so, something like, you don't have to directly ask for that demo, but just something of relevance, like a new study or a case study and something like that. And you can just create a quick video to go over it and attach the case study as well.
Now let's go through some different examples of using video with other cadences. So I know you could use things like a selfie style video. And I've always personally believed these are really good for introductions of new stakeholders. So maybe you're running a second demo and Taylor is bringing Ali on the call. And I want to quickly introduce Ali, go through what we spoke about and what we're going to go on this call. Meeting reminders is one of my favorite ones. Making sure we're putting a face and name beforehand, really good way to help decrease our no-show rates. Reviving dead opportunities. And this is where you can get pretty creative. Ali and I are in Canada, so it does get a little bit colder. Anybody from the Northwest, so I saw somebody from Ohio on the chat, they would understand what I mean by that. But one of my other sales managers stood on the roof one day in the middle of a snowstorm, asking his prospect if he could let him out of the cold, because he felt like he was getting ignored a little bit. Responded instantly, deal closed 3 days later. I know I had a bit of a gutsy one last year where I grabbed a guitar off the wall and I made up a song to help revive an opportunity. And it was a really good way to get a response. So if you are a little bit creative, bring it out. I'm generally not, but I was in a bit of a mood that day. I know Ali has a breakup email where she's dancing to Bye 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 from the Backstreet Boys. So you can get a little bit of fun. You can have a little bit of fun with it too. So if you have a personality, my favorite thing with video is it's a really easy way to help bring it in. And even there, just follows for longer sales cycles. When you are getting a little more technical about resources and what you're doing, it's a very easy way to help simplify that information, showcase aspects of the platform and things like that as well. And I know Eric has a quick question here as well. Vidyard engagement and interaction be tagged inside of SalesLoft. Unfortunately, SalesLoft doesn't have that capability to track that inside of SalesLoft itself. I know systems like Reach do. We're a SalesLoft shop internally, so we just track that within Vidyard along with the instant notifications you'll get within like Gmail or Outlook. So unfortunately, SalesLoft just doesn't do that. I know Outreach does, but yeah, that's just the case from that side of things. So hopefully that answers your question there too. Love it. Other than just a selfie style, there's a couple other ways we can do it, like contact us requests, more of an inbound request. So somebody says, hey, I'd like to get a demo, or I'd like to see a little bit more about your solution. This is a really easy way to stand out from the noise, put a face to the name, thank them for booking some time, set expectations. I know some teams like Alley and I, we do disco demo pricing in one call. Some teams have a bit of a slower process, but they want a full discovery in that first call. How can we make sure we're setting those appropriate expectations to those stakeholders, or even just introduce other stakeholders internally, whether that's a sales engineer, a solutions consultant, or anybody from leadership that might be joining if we're looking to get some executive alignment. We're just going to motor through these because I know we're running up on time, and I want to really showcase some of the examples we have in here too. So last one, inbound follow-ups. Maybe it's saying, hey, thanks for again requesting a demo. Here, let's schedule some time. Meeting follow-ups is another really big one too. Taylor, if you want to go to the next slide. And this is again, Allie's bread and butter, debriefing what we said on that call, setting expectations for that next step, helping to relay that information through our champion, other stakeholders that need to be involved. If we are looking to multi-thread that opportunity, or just showcase what our solution actually does that with those stakeholders internally. Next slide, please, Taylor. Handoffs. So maybe that's from a BDR or SDR to an account executive. If a leader is actually joining the call, or a solutions engineer, all the way to passing it off to a success team later off. So a very easy way to put a face to the name and make it keep going from there. Another really good one, pre-event and post-event. So whether we want to ask people to join a webinar that's coming up, like the one that we have coming up in a couple of weeks here that we're promoting at the start, maybe after that, if we are actually looking to try to schedule a meeting from that, if they did see some value, want to talk further. And lastly, being able to go through like contracts and proposals, walking through what line items actually mean, showcasing the value of what those are. So even if an economic buyer isn't involved in the sales process, they can get a quick 3-minute synopsis of exactly what you offer, the benefits there, and help them understand exactly what their team is looking to purchase. Whew. I squeezed that out super quick so we could get to the fun stuff here. But so some good examples of using this throughout our sales cycles as well. And if anybody is curious, feel free to add Alley or I on LinkedIn after. We can actually send some of these examples over. But I think some of the really cool ways of using this is actually doing things like meeting follow-ups. So I know, Alley, you were mentioning that you like to use playlists and videos. You want to dive a little bit into what you actually mean by that?
Yeah, so with Vidyard, I don't know if this is a bit, well, it depends on what package you can have. You can create that playlist, as I mentioned, so you can include a number of videos. Again, relevant to what you chatted about, right? Don't create a playlist for just the sake of sending content. Always you want to go to the proposal. Oh, in your proposal, like call out what's important. You don't need to go through the whole thing, or even just call out like what people get confused about more often than not, so you can avoid that back and forth and avoid backtracking. Because there's always like 2 spots in our proposals where people where people misunderstand because of our lingo, really, and how we chat about things internally. And then again, if you have that business case, have that as well in your playlist, and maybe a customer story that's relevant to them. So you can select more than one video, and when they click play, it'll just play one after the other. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, something new that I've started to do. I don't even attach my proposal to the email. I just have the video and just like, please watch as I speak to certain nuances. So they actually watch the video and actually look at the proposal, right? Because some folks don't actually look at it. And again, if they're not watching your videos, because you can see the data on the back end, maybe I'm not going to forecast them to close this month, right? I got to get some realignment with them and maybe give them a call and get that next step in. And something I like to do as well is I have an automated nurturing cadence. If someone books the next step meeting with me pretty far out, or they're still in my pipeline but just really fought me on booking that next step, just sending them an email with a video that says like any questions regarding the proposal. It's generic, but again, the tag underneath the video changes we use SalesLoft within SalesLoft. And I have like a 95% response rate, and I get more information and things that have come up in the meantime, or maybe it was always there, just never came out in our discovery. And it's just another way for me to gather more information, or maybe another objection that came up as well. It just helps with further engagement and just keeping folks excited about it, especially if it is a longer sales cycle. And I also include like studies as like 10 days later or other exciting news as well. So you can even use it in your nurturing follow-up cadences.
How long do you like your walkthrough videos would be if you're doing recaps,
Yeah.
technical walkthroughs, things like that?
Proposal is 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Sometimes we'll even do a full demo recap. You know, some people are like, can you send me the call after this? And there's no way they're going to watch a 45-minute meeting. I'll say a 5-minute demo recap for you to send to your director of marketing, because I know they don't have time to meet with us. So that will be my longest one, but usually my follow-up videos individually are 2 minutes. Sometimes it'll be a playlist. So if it's a playlist of 3 videos, it'll be 6 minutes total. Then sometimes I'll throw in a 5-minute demo recap.
We love it. And even then, there's other styles, selfie style. If we want to jump to the next slide here, Taylor. And again, these are really useful I like this from like an introduction perspective. Maybe you want to use something like a whiteboard and a marker. I know a lot of phones have the ability, you can put like text art just to find that easy way to personalize from here. I think when you're using a selfie style video like this, some of the really important things to do is make sure your camera is eye level. Nobody wants to look up your nose and see your nose hair, bats in the cave, things like that. Nobody needs that in their life. Lighting is very important for anytime you're using video. It is a visual tool. So we like to say, make sure you're not backlit. So make sure all your lighting's in front of you. If you have a natural light, like a window or something like that, that's always ideal. I just have a lamp that I got at Walmart, shining on the wall, works pretty well. I think it was $5. And one of the really big things that I was to say for more of a selfie style video, because it's very us focused, keep it to 30 to 45 seconds long. 10 seconds, introduce yourself, 30 seconds on why you're reaching out. And even then 10 seconds of what the next steps are going to be from that side of things too. And lastly, using video from more of a proposal standpoint. And as Ali mentioned, this can probably be about 3 minutes long. I'd probably say max. Any longer than that, you're probably going to lose somebody's attention. But it's a really easy way to, again, walk through the different aspects of what you're trying to do, tailor it obviously to the buyer journey, and even then be able to understand how people are truly engaging with this too. But I know Heather had a nice question coming through here. How many videos in a cadence is too many? I can't use them every time. So should a prospect see us in a video twice, 4 times, etc.? I'd say, and again, Ali, I'll put my 2 cents in because I know you have a bit of a different side on this. I like to say, and again, we sell Vidyard, so we got to eat our own dog food, so maybe it's a little bit different. I'd say from a normal perspective, maybe using every 3 to 4 steps, depending on how long your cadence is. It's just like everything. If you call somebody daily, they're probably going to be pretty annoyed because they're seeing the exact same phone number coming through every single time, things like that. If you use anything too much, it's going to get overplayed. So I'd say as long as it has value to like why you're using it to reach out, I think it makes sense. So I like to say maybe first step, maybe a nurture step. Maybe you want to resend that first email you sent with a different subject line, maybe a bit of a different text in the body, but just reuse that same message. And maybe a breakup email. So maybe say about 3 to 4 spots in your cadence is probably a pretty good way to use it. Because again, if you use anything too many times, it's overused.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I only ever personally make 1 video for each person and I'll repurpose it a couple of times.
Awesome. And some of the other things in here too, is just how to get started using video. If we jump into our next kind of slides here. So we want to jump to the video tips here, Taylor. And Ali, do you want to go through some video tips? Because you're much more of an expert using this than I am.
Yeah, so Josh's point, great lighting, just like decent, like I'm in a darker room right now. It's kind of gloomy out here in Canada, but you can see me just fine. And my lighting suffices. Have fun, absolutely. Video is about human connection, not perfection. It's okay if you stumble on your words, just don't swear, like make a joke out of it. I like to say, oh, the caffeine didn't hit me yet, or something along those lines. Like record your video like 1, 2, maybe 3 times, but just send it. They don't need to be perfect. It's just like leaving a voicemail, but you're being recorded. Obviously keep it short, as we mentioned, like 30, 45 seconds. And as you're throughout your sales cycle, they can be a little bit longer. I already mentioned they don't need to be perfect. And then after you're recording your video, yes, be sure to change your title because they'll automatically say Vidyard recording. And then once you start collecting data, if all your data is for videos that say Vidyard recording, you won't know what video is what. And then it'll give you 3 options for a thumbnail. One's like the static one, it automatically chooses for you. I never choose that because it never catches you at a good angle. But the GIF one is the best one because catches folks' eyes like more immediately, and then you can create your own, but that takes too long. So yeah, and then the Vidyard Chrome extension is in Outlook, in Gmail, in LinkedIn, so you can just grab your videos all from there. Another one that's not on here is when you're doing like a selfie style, make sure to lean to the side and wave, because the play button will cover your face. So just like smile and wave. This is what I do all day. And then just practice as well. If you're not comfortable, just make a video for your friend, or I don't know, one of your customers as well, and just say, hi, thinking about you, here if you need anything. And just start off by sending videos in like a lower pressure situation, but it's all about practice, right? I'm sure a lot of you have cold called before, and my first cold calling experience was awful and sweaty, but I practiced and got better, and it's the same thing with video.
I think one of the biggest things that I like to say as well is being a one-take wonder.
Yeah.
Right? If you think about it, make it a video. Is it 30 seconds, 45 seconds long? It's like a voicemail. It's not too hard. The only time it gets to be time consuming is if you're taking 3 or 5 takes to send that one video. I think the biggest hurdle for somebody to get over when they're first starting, I know I was guilty of this, guarantee Alley was guilty of this, and everyone else on our team, is trying to be perfect in what they're trying to say. We are humans. There is no part about us that's perfect, and that's okay. People buy from people. They don't buy from robots. It's okay. If you're on a live call, you're not going to be perfect. You might fumble on a word here and there. It's all good. As long as you don't butcher your pitch or drop an F-bomb, you're good to go. And just play it off. Say, whoa, that wasn't English, and keep it going. Right? Have a little bit of fun, have a little bit of humor, things like that. It's amazing how much people actually appreciate that. It's a breath of fresh air. They get to understand who they're working with, just like if you're on a live call. So I think the biggest takeaway I have is don't worry about being perfect. Just be yourself, be human, have a little bit of fun with it, and just have a nice smile on your face, and it's all good to go. But I know we're kind of wrapping up on time here. So are there any last questions as we're going through? Toss them in the Q&A. Any other questions from the team here?
All right. So that was so awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I learned so much, and I'm sure that everybody who attended did as well. And shout out to everybody who asked questions. That really made it really rich conversation. I have one last challenge for the panelists here. If y'all had the chance to do one tweet that kind of sold us on why to use video in our prospecting cadences, what would that be?
Well, for why to use video in your cadences, you'll make, if you're in sales, you're going to make more money at the end of the day. You are leaving revenue on the table if you're not using video. I'll leave it at that.
A thread. Awesome.
I'll use a good one there. I'm not very good at tweeting or Twitter, so maybe I'll have a bit of a similar theme, but it's more from a leadership angle. Make your champions' life easy. Do the heavy lifting for them. Easier way to make more money. So going in that same thread, but make your champion's life easy. Do the heavy lifting for them. That's my tweet.
Sweet. I love those. I'm liking them. So thanks everyone so much for coming. And of course, for more amazing events from Modern Sales Pro, go to modernsaleshq.com/events. There's plenty to come, especially that Revenue Excellence Summit that we touched on at the beginning here. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.